We are pleased now to be joined by Gary Goldberg. He is CEO of Newmont Mining. They are in the middle of a takeover defense from an offer from Barrick Gold. Gary, thank you very much for joining us here on CNBC. Are you adamantly opposed to a Barrick buyout of Newmont Mining at any price, or are you simply looking for Barrick to raise the no premium offer?
Brian, we see the best thing for our shareholders is to continue with the Goldcorp transaction. We've identified $4.4 billion of value towards our shareholders there. And the best thing for us to do with Barrick is to work together on a joint venture in Nevada. This is what we put on the table yesterday in terms of terms that make sense to bring our Nevada-related assets all under one approach to be able to deliver what they've put forward for synergies. We believe there are synergies there, and that's the best way to capture those. So we believe that's the best approach for Newmont shareholders. And quite frankly, it's the lowest risk approach without putting them at risk of putting them through the same sort of risky assets that Barrick has, exposing our shareholders to that.
Are they willing to do that? Because in some of their materials and some of the statements they made to their own shareholders, they said that they don't want to do a joint venture in Nevada because it needs a, quote, one owner mentality, and split ownership wouldn't work.
I think what we put forward yesterday to Barrick was a proposal that we believe is very reasonable and addresses that concern in terms of the person with the largest economic interest ends up really taking a majority of the day-to-day type decisions and running the place. But what's really most important is it gets the input from both Newmont and Barrick into how those assets run best, and that will deliver the best value for both sets of shareholders.
You know, Barrick says that there's a premium in the deal in their offer. I know on the surface there's no premium, but the premium will come from the value creation from all the synergies. And so therefore, if shareholders support this deal, they'll get a premium. It'll just be on the back end. Do you fundamentally disagree with that point of view?
You know, we took a look at it, reviewed it with our advisors and with our board, and in the end decided that just whole approach didn't make sense. We still believe the best approach is for us to continue to pursue the Goldcorp transaction as we are, and to work with Barrick on a joint venture that can deliver the synergy values to both sets of shareholders.
Well, Barrick says that they've identified $7 billion in synergies on net present value if they indeed end up buying you guys. Are they being a little optimistic on those numbers?
You know, that's one of the things we need to do. We need to sit down with them, work together to come up with what is the right number. But there's no question there's synergy value, and that number that they put forward is something that gets split between our shareholders. The best way to figure out how to take this forward is to sit down and work together with them so that we can deliver the best value for our shareholders.
Barrick CEO Mark Bristow says, there's some headlines yesterday, they may go forward with this offer. Have you spoken to your shareholders, the Gamcos, the Van Eck, some of these big independent stockholders? Have you spoken to them? Are you convinced they will not vote their shares?
You know, we've talked to a number of shareholders over the last several weeks, both in terms of the Goldcorp transaction and in regards to what Barrick proposed. We're continuing to work through a process with them. I think where I'm most hopeful is Mark has reached out to me, and we're hopeful that we can sit down here in the next day or so to discuss the next steps of what a joint venture might look like.
What's the state of the communication? Because it felt like a little bit, Gary, between you and Mark Bristow, might be getting a little personal.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we had been in an email communication up through, say, before he took on the Barrick job on January 1st, up till the end of January. It went quiet then until I saw him at the BMO conference last week. I shook his hand as he was coming on stage and said we need to talk. And he's reached out and would like to start a discussion.
You know, but you have pointed out in some of your materials that if somehow Barrick does take control of Newmont Mining, they're going to go from 5 assets in 4 countries to 37 assets in 18 countries in less than a year. Yeah. Do you believe their team has the operational experience to pull that off?
You know, at the end of the day, what we've got at Newmont is an operating model that has delivered results. We're up 65% in total shareholder return since 2014. Barrick is down 22%. We've got the experienced management team and the operating model not only to deliver results off our existing asset base, but to be able to deliver the same sort of results with the Goldcorp assets. When you look at where Barrick is, Mark's come in. He's got a great record of running Randgold in Africa, but that was 5 assets on 1 continent. And as you just said, the complexity of running a global business without the same sort of approach it's just not a risk that I would want to put our shareholders to.
But the amount of deal making generally, Barrick, Randgold, you guys, Gold Corp, Barrick coming for you. What's going on in the gold market, Gary, that all this deal making or potential deal making is happening? Is this because you see production simply getting more costly or declining in the next decade?
For Barrick and Randgold was for one set of reasons. They both had declining production profiles. They've just recently given 2019 guidance and haven't given any guidance out beyond 2019. That's something that shareholders should be concerned about. When you look at what we put on the table yesterday in regards to Newmont and the Newmont Gold Corp pair-up, we've given guidance out historically for Newmont out 7 years, and we've given production guidance not about growing, but about sustaining production out for decades to come, and we gave guidance out for the next 7 years. So we see it in a different way. We see good opportunity from the Gold Corp assets by applying what we've done very successfully over the last 6 years to those assets to deliver the $4.4 billion in value to our shareholders.